And welcome to the RealAg Radio After Show, everybody. Really do appreciate you joining us here. Shaun Haney, fresh off of our RealAg Radio broadcast today on Rural Radio 147, SiriusXM. We had a really great show today, lots of fun, and I have a co-host joining me today. It is Brittany Warner. She is our Saskatchewan field editor at RealAgriculture.com. Hey, Brittany, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. We heard you in your interview with Scott Owens from APAS today
Yes.
on the show. Great interview, tough topic.
You know what? And it's kind of a tough topic across the board, no matter who you talk to within the industry. Of course, Scott and APAS are trying to do their part and get that tax deferral for the cattle producers who, out of necessity, have to sell off a portion of their herd. But I've talked with people in Southeast and East Central Saskatchewan as well. And Southwest, and they're going through that drought. So they're facing those hard conditions. But even in East Central, where they have really good conditions, they're kind of facing the same tough decisions of selling off a portion of their herd just because of the way the industry is sitting right now. So, yeah.
Okay, well, the serious topic. I know you've been talking to a lot of ranchers in different parts of the province. I want to get to that in a second, but first,
Mm-hmm.
we ended the show today with the top ag news stories of the day.
Mm-hmm.
And we ended it was a lot of global news today, but we ended in Australia. And some may think the biggest news out of Australia today is the fact that they raised interest rates more than many people thought they were going to. And this is a similar trend that we're seeing in other parts of the world. But we hit on, I think, what is really the big story in Australia, which is Australia is facing a lettuce shortage. Get ready for it. It has led to soaring prices and even so I like lettuce on a burger, but I'm not sure I would go I need that kind of green. They have gone to where KFC is putting cabbage in its burgers as a replacement for lettuce.
Are people noticing? That's my question.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so.
Oh my goodness.
That
Yeah, lettuce shortage. I don't know about that.
how First of all, how bad of lettuce are you using where when you substitute to cabbage, people wouldn't know? Those two things are not in the same ballpark.
Or does that not fall on the consumer that they just eat what they're told, they believe what it is, and go about their day, right? Like nobody's questioning anything. I don't know.
Yeah, if I'm going to get that chicken sandwich, I think I'm going to pass on the greens and we'll just, more sauce or something. Anyway, that one that one stood out to me. Yeah, your question is really good. Did anybody notice? I really hope so. That is a totally different taste. Anyway, okay. So you have been talking to Rebecca. See, this is life with me. You flip flop all over the place. Okay, so you've been talking to ranchers in different parts of the province. It really kind of is, Brittany, like a feast or famine sort of situation. Some ranchers are in an extremely dire position where it's like herd dispersal is a really it's maybe moved to plan A, and then you have other situations where people are in a really good spot. I heard that in the APAS interview with Scott Owens that likely when the tax deferral has happened in the past, it's been more kind of regionalized by the federal government.
Well, and that's what Scott said. I mean, he's asking for it for the entire province. However, when it comes to pass, that it'll probably just be for those really hard hit regions that are experiencing that severe drought. So, I mean, over promise, under deliver, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, for sure. Now, you also did an interview. I don't think we've posted it yet. You did it with Adrian Ivey.
Yeah.
She's in Ituna, right?
She's in Ituna, so East Central Saskatchewan. That's going to go up here within the next day or so. But I mean, she felt bad when I was asking her about her pasture land conditions because she's like, it's never really been better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they don't have those same issues. But I mean, they're still dealing with high input prices, poor market prices. And so they actually started at 1,400, calving out 1,400 head, and that's gone down to 800. And now they're looking to go even lower to 500. And that's, she was just saying, the optimism of the future of the industry is is what's really lacking right now.
Yeah,
It's one thing to have a bad year, but to not believe that it's going to get better, that's a hard pill to swallow.
There's a lot of issues in the cattle sector specifically, well, across the value chain. But when I think about the ranching community, there is some issues, and it's not just the drought. There's a lot of things at work here and are factors. And I believe Adrian's even posted on she has her own blog, and she's talked about how it's not down and out like pessimism, but just some overall concerns. Is we always talk about, hey, what do it take to grow the cow herd? What do it take to grow the cow herd? But you gotta, first thing you got to do to grow the cow herd is ample amounts of feed, and that is something that we have not had in our largest ranching province of Saskatchewan.
Well, and even talking with producers in Southwest Saskatchewan who are going through that drought, I mean, we're talking about how to manage those situations. And if you're in that neck of the woods, this isn't new. You learn to manage those drought situations. But they were even saying, you can be the best grass manager ever, but if there's no grass, right? So that's when you have to start making those tough decisions.
I asked the RealAg Radio audience to provide some perspective. Because one of the things Owen said, he said, if you think about last year, ranchers in Montana and North Dakota had more certainty when it came to drought programming.
Yes.
And I asked if there was any listeners in Montana and North Dakota to the show today to provide some, do they feel their certainty? Because, sometimes we look across the border, the grass is always greener, and we find out that they may look at some of our programming and be like, hey, what about that? So hopefully you can connect some dots there. But it was interesting that Owen's made that comment.
Well, and I mean, even Adrian touched on that too. A large part of the issues that they're facing is the risk management, right? So they're also grain farmers. So she said even through crop insurance, they can kind of estimate what that break-even point is and essentially to some point be assured that at the end of the crop year. But in the cattle industry, that doesn't exist to quite the degree it does on the grain side of things. And it makes it tough. I mean, lots of people aren't even breaking even. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah, tough decisions. There's been a bit of a rainfall in some of these parts where, the grass is in really tough shape. But the question is it too late? And I'm not going to profess to be a pasture expert, but I know there's a lot of concern out there. And we heard from Scott that, it might be too late in some of those spots. So
yeah, so
for sure.
I mean, fingers crossed. I don't think anyone's going to turn it away at any point, but might be a little too late for some.
Hey, Brittany, thanks so much. I know you got to hop. You got to get somebody to baseball, and I will never get in front of anybody that has to get to baseball practice. So we'll talk to you later. Thanks a lot for joining us.
Thanks, Shaun. Bye.
That is Brittany Warner. She is our Saskatchewan field editor. Really appreciate her joining us here today on the After Show. Great interview with Scott Owens from APAS, talking about some of the things that APAS is asking for. And we're seeing other groups in Saskatchewan stock growers who are actually hosting their AGM this week. This will probably be a topic that comes up there as well, for sure. Saskatchewan really a mixed bag when it comes to conditions. You've got some parts that have ample amounts of moisture, probably some would say too much moisture, and you got a sliver where it's, really good, and then you have other parts where, oh my goodness, will it ever rain? So you're going to have some different requests coming out of a province like Saskatchewan, which obviously is quite large, and so it would make sense that there's multiple issues that are impacting that kind of province. We're going to be having an interview. One of the speakers at the Saskatchewan Stock Growers AGM this week is Willie Van Solcombe, and he did a study on packer capacity in Saskatchewan, I believe. It was focused on Saskatchewan. What size of plant would really be a good idea? What size of, is it even possible? I believe he did the study with Kevin Greer of Kevin Greer Consulting, who's a frequent guest on Real Agriculture. We're hoping to do that interview with Willie tomorrow, late afternoon, so we'll get it up on the site in time for our cattle email that goes out on Mondays. We did talk at the beginning of the show really important stuff. And that is the fact that Top Gun Maverick is a fantastic movie. And we got some tweet action during the show talking about it. I thought it was great. It was just a movie. It was the special effects were great. The cinematography, as one listener during the show said, was just out of this world. Top Gun Maverick is fantastic, and I went to it. It was my wife's birthday yesterday, and so myself and the kids, our 3 kids, we went to it. Everybody loved it. My kids actually, which is doesn't. I was kind of embarrassed. My 3 kids have not seen the original one. So we were giving them the whole update on Goose and Mav and all this kind of stuff on the way to the movie in very short order. And they loved it. And it wasn't, there wasn't like a whole bunch of like underlying messages to the movie. It was just a really good movie. It was like taking us back in time. Just to when a movie was a movie. It was just good. It was a good story, and people enjoyed it. Tweets here. Who said about... and if you do have a comment about any of that, just comment in the box. And for those of you watching on YouTube or Twitter, tweeting as Ms. Andrea K said, what about those who are still not over Goose? She's asking for herself. Yeah, those wounds never heal, Andrea. Niall says, absolutely fantastic movie in my opinion. Cinematography was next level. Tweeting, Ron Cron, farmer from Manitoba, frequent guest on the program. He said, I saw it. Very good movie. It was a great rain delay movie to go see. And Manitoba had, Ron, you could have gone and seen every movie that was in the theater with how much rain Manitoba had. What do we have here? Alex. Oh, hey, Alex, friend of mine from Scotland. He sent a tweet and he said, if I was allowed, I would have stood and clapped at the end of the Top Gun Maverick movie. It is that good. So I'm yet to find anybody that did not like that movie. They are very rare. I don't know if anybody is actually out there. Jeff says, farmer from Olds, Alberta, waiting for it to come to TV. Are you Jeff? Are you a watch at home kind of movie kind of guy? Is that you? You like the comforts of your own home? Well, based on the cost of the popcorn, you know what? You may be on to something, but the sound effects, you can't recreate that at home, Jeff. I don't know what kind of sound system you have at home. It ain't like the movie theater. And the rumble seats were like 2 rows behind us. They call them the D box. The D-box seats, they were rumbling. That is really cool in a movie like Top Gun Maverick. So Jeff says, we don't have the fancy theaters where they serve beer. That shows you how long it's been since I've been to a movie in a theater. They serve beer now at Cineplex. Look at that. It was, and a little bit of a variety, too. It wasn't just one kind of beer. Hey, I should mention that on Thursday, it's coming up in 2 days, June 9th, 3 p.m. Eastern, 1 o'clock Mountain, we are going to be running our first Real Agriculture members-only webinar. Here's the cool part. It's free to be a member. All you got to do is go to realagriculture.com/webinar and sign up. Thursday's webinar is all about renewable diesel. Encourage you to check this out. This is something that is really going to spark canola demand. There is a lot of opportunity here. Hey, there's some people that are really skeptical, and there's some people that are all in. Our guest, who is very much all in because they're going to build a canola crush plant in Northgate, Saskatchewan, is Robert Day. He's the CEO of Series Global Ag. He will be our guest. He will be with us, and really looking forward to that conversation. So lots of fun there. Hey, I got to hop here, everybody. Really appreciate Brittany Warner joining us. I really enjoy doing these after shows. They're a lot of fun. We get some feedback from you. Gives us a chance to chat when we are, I get done the radio show and I'm like, wish there was more. And here we get to do more. We can stay as long as we want. Some days we stay 15 minutes. Some days we stay a half hour. It doesn't really matter. Whatever you please. I appreciate you being here and being fans of Real Agriculture. Okay, we will be back tomorrow.